it also leads into then the notion of where do you store those? Like, where's the container for all of those credentials? And certainly when you touch on the aspect of certification for compliance around insurance, and I mean, that's a very big market from my perspective, and crucial. But where do you store it? I mean, I think, and I know that there are lots of people looking into this notion of a skills passport or a skills wallet. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, whilst I don't get too much under the bonnet, to use the expression I used previously around technical platforms, they do matter. And from a university perspective, I can only speak on behalf of my own university. If we understand that our credential is actually the thing that we issue that really does have value in society and the way it's regarded. So that's what universities have as their credentials. You can argue whether the curriculum is as valid or as relevant as it should be, and that will vary from one university to the next. But that piece of paper or now digital credential that's issued really is important. So if we're going to start issuing micro-credentials with our logo, letterhead on them, we do not want those to be all around the world unless we can verify them. Because we know that fraud in this area is already quite common with macro-credentials, and we have to go through, to verify those, particularly when we accept international students. So if we're going to be issuing thousands, potentially even millions of micro-credentials, somehow you've got to have a means of recognizing and verifying them. And perhaps in a way where to save the overhead costs is because otherwise you're going to have a very large unit in the university opening emails every day asking to be verifying various, qualifications, where employers and employees, citizens can go in themselves and do that. So it's basically seamless. So for that reason, yes, back-end platforms really do matter. It's quite an ironic twist in many respects, because Digitry, which I know is used in Australia and New Zealand universities, it's now the platform of choice in Canada for the universities, began many years ago at Dublin City University as a startup. And it still has its head office here in Dublin, only a stone's throw from the main campus of the university. So we have a strategic partnership with Digitry. We forged that last year. Digitry issue our macro credentials. So we're committed to working, not to suggest we're solely committing ourselves to one platform or one company, but we're committed to something that is credible, that has international mobility and scale, understanding the real challenges. In Europe, just like elsewhere, there are many different platforms emerging, many that would claim the blockchain is essential to this. I'm still not convinced right now. I sometimes say, you actually don't need a platform for a micro-credential. If all you're doing is issuing a certificate, that's a micro-credential. Of course you do if you want to scale up. But where the European Commission is really, I think, going to ultimately be incredibly influential is we have a thing called the Euro Pass. It has been around for a while, and in its Euro Pass version 1 was essentially a glorified electronic CV that you could upload, and every citizen is able to do that, fairly one-dimensional. What the Commission is doing is putting millions, if not more, into the development of the Europass as the one-stop shop platform for micro-credentialing. Well, not just for micro-credentialing, actually for your portfolio, for your profile as a citizen. Anything that you have done, you can upload into this. So whilst I don't think there will ever be a single micro-credential platform, what we're talking about here is interoperability. So anyone who has a micro-credential or a platform that's capable of issuing badges in the future will be constrained if they're not interoperable with the Europass. I'm involved in a project where we're piloting, trying to get our micro-credentials working within the Europass and bringing all the information that needs to come with that, all the metadata, the ability to look at the evidence that sits behind it. Because again, this is about what do employers really want to see? Do they just want to see the certificate, the badge, or do they want to understand what you've done? I lean towards what I'm much more interested when I'm employing someone is their trajectory. What's their kind of curve they're on? Is there real evidence that they're committed to their own development and lifelong learning? That's the kind of person we want to employ, because they're going to be committed to relearning and unlearning and continuing. So I want to see that evidence, not just the badge itself.
I'm very happy to hear you bring up the word evidence. Of course, the company that I work for, that's our main focus. It's all around the evidence of learning. What does that look like? How does that align to your skills? How does that reflect your personal skills and competencies? So very nice to hear you talk about the evidence of learning as being important in this whole ecosystem.